We're gonna go live. We're live just like that.
Just like
3
that.
seconds and counting. How you doing, Archie?
Hey, doing good, Tom. Just excited to have Alex here join us. Busy guy. Everybody's busy, and just an amazing, show that we're gonna have here.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Welcome everybody to MMAFightPass.com, the Hammer Fist podcast. Guys, I believe we're at episode 86 of our total podcast and number 17 of the virtual podcast, right, Arch?
That's right.
Right, yeah. 17 guys doing these virtual podcasts since this freaking coronavirus started. And I hope everybody out there is doing well. Alex, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to come on the show. I know you're really busy, and that's one thing I respect about you and your coaches is even after going through all this stuff and getting bigger, you still took the time to come onto the show. How you doing, man, after that great win?
Good, man. Just hanging out, trying to get back to work.
And you're still over there in Vegas, huh?
Yeah, we have two guys fighting this week. Christian Aguilera, he just got signed. He's a 170 pounder. I believe he'll be the first fight of the night. And then we have Mark De La Cruz, the guy that I actually fought. He came down and trained with us for this camp, but he's fighting on Saturday. And then next week we have Frank Camacho fighting. So a lot of guys with fights coming up.
Man, you guys have a lot of people fighting right now. You're in a real busy school right there. Seems like every UFC, you guys at least got a few people fighting lately.
We're staying ready, man. That's the whole point. Stay ready so you have to get ready. We knew that UFC was probably going to be the first one back on. So the UFC guys took charge and kind of just, we had workouts. We were doing things on our own. So it's always good.
That's awesome. Hey, Cass, and thanks, Alvaro. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks everybody that's tuning in. You got a lot of fans here locally, Alex, and we like to show our main thing with the show is we want to show the local support and give you guys support, and we want to thank everybody out there for giving our show support. So if you're watching now or you're watching later, thank you, and pass this video on because Alex is doing big things, man. Right now, Alex, let me see if I got it right, but your record in MMA is 24 wins, 8 losses, and 6-1 in the UFC. Is that correct?
I think I only have 5 losses. I don't know how many wins, but I only got 5 losses.
Even better. They got it wrong.
Yeah.
Nice, man. How does it feel to be fighting in the UFC and having success like that?
It feels good. It just shows all the hard work. I've been through a lot. When I was younger, having to work full time and train and stuff, and then getting all this other stuff. I went from working in the fields and having to train, to doing like yard work, having to train to work in restaurants. I used to work at Spike and Rail actually in Selma, and having to train full time. And then I worked at a freight company, did some coaching on the side, coached a little bit at Selma for a minute, and just trying to make everything work together. And it's just crazy to see where I'm at now. There's a couple times I wanted to give up, but my support system didn't let me.
Man, dude, those are some things I did not know about you. I didn't know you worked at the Spike and Rail, and I didn't know that you had done a little bit of field work back in your younger day. Hey, that's hard stuff, man. I give props I give props to everybody that does. I've got a lot of friends that do it, and I'm, it's all good. That's part of being around this area. At what point in your life, like at what age did you go into your first martial art, whether that be wrestling or boxing or kickboxing or whatever?
I started wrestling about the 6th grade, maybe my 5th grade, going into 6th grade year. I actually started wrestling at Hanford High under Coach Macedo, and started wrestling there because my brother went to high school there. We had just moved from Sparks, and we're looking for a house to live in, and we were staying on my grandma, so we had to start wrestling there, and then eventually we ended up moving to Lemoore.
Damn. So did you get quite a bit of Lemoore's always been known locally for pretty good wrestling. Did you get a lot of your wrestling experience there in Lemoore?
Yeah. I started, like I said, in Hanford, went out to Lemoore, started wrestling under Coach Kent Olson, and then wrestled here in junior college as well. So wrestling definitely is my base.
Kent Olson, you said?
Yeah, Kent Olson, yep.
Yep, he's quite known. Archie, what do you think about that?
Hey, well, you know what, Alex? I mean, a lot of people that start off as wrestling, one of the hardest things for them to do is transition to what you are now an expert at, man, kicking, punching, and knocking people, the F out, man. It's crazy how amazing, to see your growth. Tell us a little bit about that transition and how did that happen, man? I mean, how did you become, from a ground dude to a killer all around dude?
It was, I started training at Team Ochoa back in the day in a garage, actually, with Coach Mino Morales and the Team Ochoa guys. And then, coaches got in here. And then a couple years ago, I came down to train with them. And, man, those guys just elevated my game to the next level. No disrespect to the Valley or anybody in there, but I needed to get away. It was too much distraction and stuff. And just got away and, started training. And, yeah, man, here I am.
And here's one of your coaches right here that just tuned in. Thank you, sir, for coming on, Mr. Colin Oyama.
How you doing, man?
We're doing good, man. How you doing?
All right.
Sorry about the mix-up of time earlier, but I might have given you the wrong time, I guess.
Yeah, well, we're stuck in Vegas, so we got nowhere to go.
Right on, man. So you guys are still in Vegas over there, and you mentioned to us earlier, Alex, that you're training at the PI Center. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm just here to get physical therapy. It's a UFC PI. It's a building. They have some of the best physical therapists here, and I mean, when you're beat up, it's good to get a little maintenance on. So I came in here, just got worked on by Heather. That's her lead person there. And she does great work. Got worked on a little bit, just nagging little injuries, nothing crazy. And then I did some tests for the PI as well, like strength conditioning tests to kind of match and see where you're at. They do like cardio tests, things like that. So it's a great building to take advantage of.
Now, Colin, are you over there at the center as well?
I can barely hear it. What's that?
Are you at the training center as well in Las Vegas?
Hello?
Hey, we can hear you, Colin. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's a reception or what.
Yeah, he's not with us. Yeah, he's at a different spot.
Now, Alex, before a fight like this, what's your walk-around weight, and how far out from the fight date do you start the weight cutting for this?
It's just a process. I work with perfecting athletes, and they get me down slowly. Get me down pretty good to weight. This camp I was walking around like 45, so not too crazy. And yeah, they get me down. They do all their stuff. I love working with perfecting athletes. I've been working with them all 7 fights now, the contenders and all my UFC fights, and they do an amazing job of getting me ready physically, mentally. They make sure I'm properly hydrated, make sure all my weight cut goes smooth, and they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, it looks like it, man. It looks like when you went into that fight that you look like you were at whatever weight you look like you were feeling pretty comfortable there. Now your opponent, he's no joke. I've been watching that guy fight for some time. I'm probably gonna murder his name. How do you say his first name? Is it Hussein?
Juicer.
Juicer Formiga?
Yes.
Now, man, that was a great fight. Alex, one of the reasons that we brought you on today is we've been seeing it lately more and more in MMA, and I've seen it a lot before in Muay Thai fights, just straight Thai fights, is that lower leg kick to the top of the calf right there. Now, have you been using that technique? Because a lot of people in Thai, they'll aim for the lower thigh above the knee, and they'll get in there on those nerves right there. But it looked like you were aiming on purpose for that calf. Can you talk about that calf kick a little bit? That's one of the things we're interested in today.
Amazing.
Honestly, I was just aiming for something, either the calf or the thigh. And you never really aim perfect, and it just happened to kept landing in the same spot, so I kind of kept going for it. I train at Team Oyama down in SoCa and Irvine, and Coach Oyama and Romeo Donza are my Muay Thai coaches, and I mean, we train this stuff on a everyday basis at least. So yeah, it's always it's just in the game,
Hey, have you ever been hit right there, like in practice or in a fight, in that kind of that same area, and felt something familiar to what he felt?
I mean, I get leg kicked all the time. Like I said, we train at a Muay Thai based gym, so we get leg kicked all the time. I mean, I'm pretty sure I felt that event at some point in time, but not recently.
I mean, that kick looked like it just stopped him completely right there. Archie, when we were watching that, we were talking about that a little bit, but it looks like after you kick him there, he takes a step on it and he just completely can't stand on it anymore after that.
Yeah, I mean, not sure what was wrong with it. You know what I mean? It's hard to say, but just glad that it worked out in my favor.
Hey, Alex, I mean, just like any fight, grappling, fist fight, MMA and whatnot, you go in there and you see something work and like, oh shit, this is working. I'm going to keep going for this move or kick or whatnot. When did you notice, or when did your mindset change to say, this is working, I'm going to keep going and attacking?
I think I mean I landed a few at the beginning right off the back, so I think after that I was like, okay, let's just set it up. I did a decent job of setting it up. Sometimes I was just throwing the kick naked and kind of caught me, out of position. But I think probably within the first minute I was all right. Let's work on this leg. Let's keep working on this leg, whether it's inside, outside. So I kind of just stuck with that.
Nice. It worked out. Hell yeah.
It was nice, and it did work out. And that guy, he's got a pretty good record too, and he was working his way up the ranks. And there was a lot of eyes on you guys, even though that was the preliminary fight. There's a lot of big eyes that are watching you guys because that to move up in the ranks. Where do you think that did for you now as far as moving up? Because you're up in the top 5 already before this fight, correct?
No, I think I was 9 now. Like I'm the 4th or 5th guy. I don't know. It's just a numbers game, man. Everybody in that top 5, top 10 can get a title shot any given time. So the best thing to do is just stay ready. Doesn't matter what number is next to my name. Eventually, I'm gonna have to fight all of them, so it doesn't really matter to me. I just see a ranking as a number. Coming back from a wrestling background, you go to a tournament, you're seated, you're not seated, someone's seated above you, you beat them. It's kind of numbers don't mean nothing. It's just whoever performs that day.
And you came out of the fight pretty much unscathed. And today when we got a hold of you, as soon as you tuned in, you were actually still training and finishing up training. So, man, how many days what was it, 2 days and you were back in training?
I usually get up, depending how beat up I am, usually on Sunday, run about 45 minutes, and just go from there. Like I said, I come from a wrestling background, so it's like you wrestle a tournament, you have 4 to 5 matches, and 5 to 6 matches, depending on how big the tournament is. But you win, you can't celebrate it. If I wrestle a guy that's ranked above me, I can't celebrate it too long. I was going to move on to the next match because the next guy's coming after me. So I kind of take that mentality here. I did a great job celebrating Saturday night with my friends and family. Now Sunday's time to get back to work. I think a lot of people take their rock star life and take about 2 to 3 weeks off and party, and then they still talk about their fight. I'm on to the next one. I'm looking at the next one in front of me. Not sure what it is, but I know it's going to be someone in the top 5. So I'm just keeping busy, trying to get better at what I'm doing.
Hey, Coach Cohen, I mean, I have a question for you. You're on the show with us because we're like so amazed by all the fighters you have, and we wanted to hear a little bit about what you have to say about Alex. You've seen the road, that Alex had to gone through. You've seen that you guys been through ups and downs. What can you say about Alex and your relationship and just overall?
I think it's coming a long way. I think his greatest strength is his work ethic, and I think sometimes takes a little bit longer, and people don't want to hear stuff like that, like patience or whatever, and people want the quick fix, and sometimes people get lucky and they get into the big show, but they're not ready to do it, and they flame out, and they'll never recover. I think it's always better when somebody has a work ethic. They've had a harder way in. He never got invited to the UFC like some of these guys. He had to go to the contenders and stuff, and didn't have a lot of hype train. And, since then he's 6-1, 5-1. So
6-1.
I think it's better that way in the UFC. I think a lot of guys get in, they're 5-0, and I mean there might be a rare occasion where that 5-0 guy deserves it, but I'll take a kid with 27 fights and something like that. I think the more experience you have, the better you'll do in the UFC.
Nice. Tom, what do you think?
I think that's awesome, man. I think that the work ethic that Alex has is the reason why he's doing what he's doing and why he's gotten so far. Also, your guys' attitude too is, a lot of guys when they start getting wins like this in the UFC, they get too good for people, and they can't make time for people. And then a lot of fighters that I've known, after a win like that, they'll go out and party for not one night, not that same night, but they'll party. They'll put together 2, 3, 4 nights in a row, and then take a little bit of time off, and then maybe a week later they're back in the gym. For him to be back running the next day, 45 minutes, that says a whole lot right there, Archie, don't you think?
Oh yeah, that's just dedication. That's a different level, and I think Colin put it right on the hit it right on the spot when he described Alex. He's been through so much, and then even Alex says himself, he's been working out in wrestling in different environments. That at this point, Alex has it going on. I mean, his head's on straight to where he's practicing the next day. You hear stories of you compete on Saturdays, and then you do hear stories of those coming back to practice on a Sunday. Well, guess what? Those people are Alex, and that's why they achieve that level.
It sure is, dude. Hey, Colin, how's the connection now? Is it pretty jacked up or what?
No, it's a little bit better.
Okay. So, Colin, we're talking about those calf kicks, and I mean, Alex makes it sound like it just, he threw and I'm sure this is what he was doing. He's throwing the kicks out there, and they're landing either the thigh or the calf. Do you yourself, do you technically train fighters to aim for a specific area, and that upper calf right there, where that what they call the perennial nerve is right in there, I believe? Is that something that you aim for?
I mean, you set up kicks the way you set them up. I mean, some people will tell you like, yeah, they're going exactly for that exact spot, and they're full of shit. You set up a general area. Even a body shot, the guy falls, and the guy will claim that, yeah, he meant to hit the exact spot. And, hey, that's horseshit. You look for general areas. I'm setting up a body attack. I'm setting up a leg kick. You aim for a general area. That guy may move his foot a little bit. He may not move his leg a little bit. It just depends, But the way we practice it is you aim for a general area. You try and pinpoint certain things, but for people to say like, you start hitting this exact nerve, it sounds like a bunch of kung fu bullshit. It's not like a kung fu movie or something. So.
There you go. Look at this guy that's popping in
I don't
right
think
here.
it's that exact. It's more,
Right.
Just looking for a general area.
What's up, Jeremy?
That's a good looking dude right there.
How you guys doing?
All right.
Good,
We got
good.
another guy popping in now. We got Jeremy Luchow, guys, from Meridian Sports.
We just thought we'd mix
Party.
this in. We thought we'd surprise all our guests and just to kind of have a little party here, a virtual remote party, California, Vegas, Hawaii.
There it
Sure.
is.
Oh, man. How you doing, Jeremy? How's everything going?
I'm doing wonderful, man.
There you go.
Jeez, it doesn't get much better, does it?
It does not get much better, man. Are the fights coming back to the Palace, and will Alex want to fight in his hometown again? That's coming from Alvaro Hurtado. I'm probably saying that, probably murdering that guy's name.
What do you think, Alex?
Alvaro Hurtado? Am I saying it wrong? If I am, whatever.
The UFC did say they're coming back to Tachi, so who knows? For sure, if they're in Tachi, I got to be on that card.
Oh,
we'll
that would be so. I don't think they don't know what they're missing. That would be so sick for it to come on the native grounds right there in Tachi, the UFC. You'd have people coming from everywhere to see that shit. Damn, dude, that would be sick.
Oh yeah,
that would be sick.
I would sell out that event for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. So Colin, with guys like Alex, where did you first come across our local Alex?
Good question.
First came across Alex?
I mean, I'm sure did you see him fight first, like out in Lemoore, before you got to know him or knew him yourself?
Nah, I don't think. I was at a fight where he was at. That's what he tells me. I don't really pay attention. He was at Pandemonium. I think we were at Pandemonium. We had some clown fighting, and he was probably laughing at the guy we were fighting. I don't know. But I met him through Jeremy and Jason House. They brought him down to spar with Ian and some other stuff, and he had a good work ethic, and he grinded it out and kind of worked out well from there. I think after looking at him, we kind of went back up there to look around and see what else was up there, and a lot of hardworking kids, up in the valley. They're very different than some of the more urban kids down in Southern Cal. I'll put it that way. And people from the Central Valley whether it's him or Joe Soto or some of these other guys, Adrian Guzman, they definitely have a different work ethic, a different mentality than some of the younger kids we've run into from other areas. So it's been great.
Well, in the Central Valley, bud, there's not a lot to do over here, man. If you're a young man, you could either go out and tip cows over at nighttime. You might go to a Tachi Palace fight or something, you know what I mean? Or you might go to a nightclub, spray paint on a wall. There ain't a lot to do out here. So our guys that do become fighters, they seem to go far. Now, Jeremy, I saw you on social media the night of the fight, and I know you have ties with Alex, and I know you got a lot of respect for Alex, and you're pretty excited when this guy does good. Talk a little bit about your ties with Alex. How did you get to know him, and what do you think about him doing what he's doing?
I mean, I think I met Alex at the Lemoore wrestling room. I brought my son there to be a part of the Farm Boys wrestling program, and Alex was one of his coaches. Alex must have been 14, 15 years old at the time. We kind of developed a friendship, and he was always there coaching my son, and we just became really, really close. I mean, he would stay wrestling seasons at my house. I would help him cut weight, help him do different things, and when he decided that he wanted to do MMA, he kind of he put that faith in myself to kind of guide him in the right way, and and move up the ladder. I will say the one thing about Alex that Coach mentioned is work ethic, but I think even above that is the fact that he always listened, right? Like, he followed a plan from the beginning. He wasn't one of those kids that read a lot of social media and said, well, this guy's doing this or this guy's doing that. Like, whatever Coach Colin asked of him to do, Alex did it. Whatever the agency asked him to do, Alex did it. And he's probably one of those people I can look back and say, man, this guy followed the game plan pretty much to a T, and he's right where he wants to be now. He's moving up the ladder, he's progressing and doing that thing. So it wasn't just the hard work. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He did all the hard work, but he also implemented the team's game plan, whether it was Coach Yamas, his strength coach, his dietitian. He's always been able to execute whatever plan was put in front of him, and he never questioned. He never said, nah, Coach, I don't want to do that. Coach said, no, this. And I specifically remember we were in Vegas before this fight, and Alex questioned Colin and said, I think I'm going to throw less strikes this fight. And Colin specifically said, no, you're not. We're going to do what Alex Perez does. You're going to walk. He's smiling because you're going to walk this guy down and you're going to throw punches like you always do. And then that's exactly what he did. So it's a kind of a testament to him that he's not a know-it-all. You know what I mean? And he always follows through with the game plan. No matter what coach or mentor it was in his life that was trying to guide him, he puts his whole faith into that person and follows.
Hey, Jeremy, I remember you. I mean, we kind of go back in MMA, wrestling, and whatnot. I remember you one time made a comment to me via text or whatnot that said, if you guys want some guys to kind of improve and go far in the MMA game, they need to have some hands. They need to be able to punch because,
Right.
We're talking about guys in my background, wrestlers, right? He goes, okay, yeah, you're able to take your guys down, but there's going to be a point where that game kind of gets stopped or challenged. And I was telling Alex, I mean, man, he's probably the role model that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I think that all guys have come into this game with certain types of skill sets, and then they get with the better ones get with coaches that can help develop that skill set and improve in the areas of their weaknesses. And it's no secret. Alex wasn't very good at the striking aspect of his game early on in his career. He loved to wrestle and hold people down. His MMA wrestling is far superior to what his high school and collegiate wrestling was. He's probably one of the better MMA wrestlers there is in the game, like from top to bottom. And just him being with Colin over this amount of time, and again following directions and sticking to Colin's game plan and learning Colin's system on striking, it's helped him tremendously.
Definitely, it's showing with the striking, that's for sure. Now, Colin, you got more fighters coming up on the next couple of weekends, I believe. Who do you have fighting on the next couple cards? Can't hear me. We're having some issues.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't hear anything you guys said.
Jeremy, when we talk, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. One of these days we'll get this thing dialed in right here. Probably my internet, most likely. It sucks.
Hey, Alex, we got one for you, man. I bought a title shot here for you pretty soon. What do you think? You're in the top 5. People get shots, you know, even when you're not in the top 5. Who'd you fight? Jose Benavidez was, you know, he's one of the top guys there. What do you think by the time that you're going to get the title shot? Who do you think it'll be, or do you care?
I mean, my like if I wanted to play out perfect, I'd want to fight Benavidez again for the, you know, get my rematch and beat him for the title. But it doesn't matter, man. I can care less who has the title. As long as I get that, that's gonna be mine one day. So I just gotta keep working.
All right.
You keep working. A lot of times those calls just come out of the blue. We've seen it happen over and over. Where, you know what I mean? They need the fight to happen. Just all of a sudden they give you the call out of the blue. That's why you got to stay ready. Jeremy, what do you think about that? And what do you think about that division right there? Who actually is holding the belt in that division? Is there a fighter with the belt right now?
The flyweight title is vacant right now.
Yeah, I mean, does the Vicen figure? I'll murder that guy's name. I'm not even going to try to say it.
Figueroa and Benavidez are fighting for the vacant title. It's a rematch because the last time they fought, Figueroa missed weight, but he did end up beating Benavidez. So, you know, they're fighting for a title. And I believe Pantoja and Kai France are on the same card. That's another. They're not France. Ascar, I think. So it's another good fight. Yeah, I mean, like Alex said earlier, he's certainly in the midst of guys that at any time, any moment could be called to fight for a world title, and I know he'll be ready and be ready to seize that opportunity when it comes.
I can see it happening, man. Well, guys, Alex, man. I want to thank you for coming in. I know you're really busy, and we said we give a certain amount of time today, and that time has already went by. So I know you're busy, brother. Hey, man, I want to thank you for not being too big and for giving the local guys a shot and coming on our show. We're going to keep supporting you, and we appreciate you that you supported us today for coming on our show. All the locals are super happy for you, bro, and we just hope that you keep doing what you're doing. And, man, dude, I wish you the best, brother. And I don't even have to wish you the best because you're doing the right thing. You're out there training, and you're doing what all of us locals would hope that you would be doing, man. Hey, not just you, but Marianne Renault. She's another local fighting in the UFC right now. That's going to be fighting here. Same thing with her. I know she's training her ass off right now. She's putting it down, just like you are, dude. So keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully, we'll get you on the show for a full show next time. And man, just keep training like you're doing, bro.
For Alex, any shout outs, Alex?
Yep, a shout out to Alex. Hey, Alex, you got any sponsors?
Thank you to all my sponsors: Miss Mary Jane, CBD. Drink HRW, Post Right, So Right, Bump Box. No, I'm forgetting someone out there, but just my team, Team Ochoa, Team Oyama, Perfecting Athletes, my management team, everybody from Lemoore, everybody from the Central Valley. Thank you guys for the support. Glad to make you guys proud. Just on to the next one, bigger and better things. Thank you guys.
Yes, sir. We thank you. Alex, have a good time in Vegas, man. Be careful over there. Have a safe drive back, my brother.
Jeremy, hang out with us, brother.
Later,
Okay,
guys.
okay.
Later.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Jeremy.
Alex had mentioned earlier that he has about 220, 225. And, you know, we got to respect that. He's out there training and working hard. So he's probably trying to disconnect right now. But, yeah, there he goes. Cool.
Man, everybody out there. I talk to so many people like at my work at Costco that just people that don't even train, but they do watch the sport and they all know who Alex is. And man, dude, just seeing our locals do what they're doing. Jeremy, you play a big part in this, dude. Like, I don't know if you realize that, but just doing what you're doing, man. A lot of these guys go through you at some point and they know you.
Yeah.
And when are you doing your show again, man? I know it's this whole coronavirus and whatever, but it's got to be over soon.
Yeah, you know, like I told you guys last time I was on, I mean, we have a show scheduled every month, and we're just gonna go with our schedule until they say we can or can't do fights. You know what I mean? So, you know, they said no go in June, but you know, as of right now, we're gonna move forward with July 25th. It looks like things are moving in a positive direction for us to have events by that time. So, we're doing a little more than we have maybe the last few events as far as publicity and just getting guys ready and stuff.
Dude, it's funny. I got kids come. I just had a girl from my work text me yesterday, and her boyfriend wanted to start MMA fighting. It's funny. Hey, there ain't shit to do around here, man. There's not, dude. And a lot of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think you get a lot of people, different walks of life, different stages in their life, different career paths. Some guys want to come in and just knock it off their bucket list and compete. Some guys just want to come in, do it for fun, and kind of be like a career amateur, and they're not really necessarily looking for it to be a career. So and then you have guys that they're wanting to move up the ladder and take it serious. So there's definitely different types of people that we're working with and trying to get fights for. And sometimes in the matchmaking process, you don't want to put a guy that's trying to make this a career in there with a guy that's wanting to do this for a bucket list opportunity. So we got to be real careful and kind of know and understand what guys' goals are.
You get a lot of guys like that, just that you could tell when you meet them. It's like it's not going to be something long, but maybe it's just they want to do it that one time or once or twice.
Yeah, it's probably
the soccer mom, the soccer dad.
Yeah, it's probably about 50% of the people that come into this. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody, but definitely people see it on TV or they they were a former baseball player and they still want to compete or they got involved in jiu-jitsu and they think that they can do MMA. So I don't as long as everybody understands what they're in for and what they're getting themselves into and do things the right way, I'm able to accommodate everybody for their different wants, their different desires. They can definitely get different things out of competing for us.
How does a guy out there, like a kid out there that's trained, and he is trained at one of these local gyms, and a lot of the gyms around here, most of them are just like straight jiu-jitsu gyms. I mean, most of the main guys that I know, but there are a lot of kids in there that do want to give it a shot. Are you the guy that they would get a hold of to get into that show? Or is there somebody else that they should go through? Or should a coach get a hold of you?
I mean, it's different all the way around. Every situation is different, right? A lot of times it's coaches that are contacting us. A lot of times it's athletes that are contacting us, as long as guys are, physically fit to compete and mentally prepared for the road ahead, I don't mind giving guys opportunities. There's definitely been times where guys have come and stepped in and I said, hey man, this is not for you. And they still want to pursue that. Then I let them, I encourage them to go fight in other organizations, because I'm not here to get people hurt or get people beat up and things like that, and then there's guys that have come and struggled and I try to help guide them and get them to the right gyms or, tell them things that they need. But again, man, you can only lead a horse to water, right? You can't make them drink, so, and going back to, Alex, he was always the guy that we would lead him there and he would drink it all up and take it all in. So, there could be a lot more athletes like Alex going on and doing the big things in the UFC, but it really takes a lot of self-discipline, courage, and to really follow a plan. You know what I mean? People, that's their biggest thing. Like they come into this and they think they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They don't want to listen to their coach. They don't want to listen to management. You know what I mean? I've dealt with a lot of athletes that are far superior to where Alex was talent-wise before he started competing. You know what I mean? You got to remember, in high school, Alex was a top 12 finisher. He never even placed at the state. I think he wasn't even I think he really only wrestled 2 years as a starter, maybe only 1 year as a starter, because he was a backup for so many years to guys like I believe like Brandon Rocha. You know what I mean? Guys that were like top 2 or 3 guy in the state at the time. So he was in a tough situation in high school, and then in college, he went and he wrestled for Olsen at West Hills. you know, and I think maybe he took a third and a second or something like that. I can't remember, maybe 2 seconds, you know, but he didn't wrestle Division I, you know, and he really came into this situation just like kind of what Coach said, you know, like hard work, and he listened and followed a game plan. There's so many athletes that just don't want to do that. They think right away they need to be a part of the glitz and the glamour, and they want big money, and they want certain fights that they're not ready for, and they really don't follow directions well, and it kind of derails their careers real early, you know. Alex was never that guy. He always just, hey, this is what you should do, Alex, and he just went out and executed that plan. You know, he's really good at execution. So, you know, I think there's a lot more athletes in our area that if they would follow some game plans and follow a little bit more execution, that they definitely could make it to that elite level.
Look at 24-5.
24-5.
24-5, and look at the list. A lot of green.
The list is no joke, dude. It's good.
And it goes back. The reason I wanted to look at this, it goes back to 2011. Today is 2020. So just to show you, the time.
But look how many fights he had in like 2011. Like he had 4 fights in 2011, right? But if you go back in his amateur career, I think he had 3 fights. So I think he did 7 fights that year.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In total, 3 amateur and I think 4 pro, you know. And then look, he just keeps going, keeps competing, you know, even after back-to-back losses, you know what I mean? He didn't stop, you know what I mean? He had back-to-back losses again, didn't stop, kept training, kept working, you know what I mean? And the time will come. You know, sometimes those losses are important, you know, you learn a lot in those situations, you know what I mean? He, you know, in those early 2 losses, he thought he was a great grappler, you know what I mean? No one could choke him out. You know, no one could do this, and he got stuck in some positions that, you know, he wasn't familiar with, and he took some losses, you know. So he definitely worked on those things as well as developing his hands over the years. So, you know, I definitely think there's a lot more talent in the Valley. I see it more firsthand because I do the amateur fights of guys that could get to the next level. But what I don't see is guys that really have that ability to be to stick to a game plan and stay to a plan both inside and outside of the cage, the way that Alex has, and that's really what separates him from most athletes that we've worked with here in the Valley.
Hey Jeremy, Colin mentioned something when you know and as we're talking now about the road to the UFC, that the route that Alex took obviously is not the same as some other folks that get invited. What do you mean by that? Get invited? Who invites from the UFC?
I just think there's different types of athletes. There's definitely different types of different types of situations. You know what I mean? I mean, different pedigrees. There's nothing that's an exact science, you know, and the plan that works for Alex isn't going to be a plan that works for somebody else. You know, sometimes some people's routes to the UFC are not through Contender Series. They're through taking some bigger, tougher fights on a regional scene, or you know, maybe they have a big name in the wrestling community, or they were a former pro wrestler, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? There's more to the UFC business other than just pure athleticism, right? Like it's a sports entertainment industry. You know what I mean? So there's other stuff that obviously you know is part of that. You know.
You know, it's talking about the industry. I was going to ask you a question and see what's your take on it. You know, the UFC has been back for a little while. You know, you have a targeted date, but the other big players like Bellator, Combate, and even just a few others, no one else wants to hold a show. What's going on there? You know, and
I don't think that it's nobody wants to hold a show. I think all of us promoters want to hold shows. I think getting things to work within certain amounts of within guidelines in whatever state that may be, there's going to be some struggles right now, you know what I mean? And we're all trying to work through those types of things together. LFA just announced that they're going to be doing a show July the 10th, you know what I mean? And they're going to run a series of events in July. And so that's great, you know what I mean? I know Combates is doing their best. They're working on some different stuff. I've been in contact with them about when they're going to get ready, and Bellator is too. So I wouldn't be surprised sooner than later that there's announcements being made for a lot of these shows. But really, it just comes down to the whole COVID situation. Every other day there's new information that comes out. It's passed this way, it's transmitted this way. It's no, never mind. It's this, it's that. Nobody really knows what's going on, so everyone's just trying to do this as safe as possible. And follow certain guidelines. It's a real struggle because there's just so many hands in the cookie jar that are trying to figure out ways to make everything happen. You know what I mean? And everybody thinks they're an expert at making things happen and stuff, and they're really not. No, the real truth is nobody knows. You know what I mean? And it'd be a lot easier if people just came out and said that, and then just said, hey, we're gonna figure this out together and do it. So.
So the California Community College Athletic Association, they just announced a schedule for their athletics for the season coming up. Right. So somehow, some way, these guys were able to forecast that. Okay, yeah, we're able to come up with a season for all these different sports. So they kind of announced seasons for them. So that was interesting.
And I think a lot of people are going to announce things, and then new information is going to come out later, and they're going to make changes to that announcement, right? Like, they're going to say, hey, you can do sports this way. And then in a couple, in 2 weeks, a month, a week, whatever it is, new information, new data is going to come out. And then they're going to say, okay, you know what? You don't really need to do that. You know what I mean? You can do this instead. So I just think people need to be patient and understand that, new regulations and new things are going to come out. I don't know how I'm going to run my show. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about figuring it out. I'll figure it out if it's a green light, and 2 weeks before, we'll make it happen. We'll get all the regulations in place on what they want us to do during that time frame. I don't want to start building the infrastructure on how to do a show right now, and then next week something changes, and then I change it again, and guess what? 2 weeks from now, something changes again, and there's new guidelines. Then I got to change it again. So I'm just gonna.
That's really a volatile situation for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I was going to ask about the impressive record that Alex has in the UFC. Is he maybe the only guy in the Valley now at this point that has such a winning record, 6-1, and even ranked this high?
I don't know if there's anyone that has 6 wins in the Valley.
I don't believe so. I don't think so.
I think Joe had 3. What if Cody had 1 or 2? Maybe Marion Renault's up there. You might want to check her.
And then Alex's only loss, isn't it, to Benavidez, right?
Right.
Okay.
Which is no joke.
That's the rematch. That's the belt rematch.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you think, Tom?
I just think it's great, man. It's great to see the local, and I'm glad that he took the time to come on. I really didn't. Some of these guys, they get a couple fights. Like I talk about it a lot, but they get a couple wins in the UFC or something. Then all of a sudden, their head's up there, and they're too good.
That's not Alex, and Alex has never been that way. If Alex could fly home today and get a group of kids together and take them down to the wrestling room at Selma and wrestle them for 5 hours, he would rather be doing that than anything else in the world. He's always been that way. He's always going to be that way. He gives back to the communities that he's a part of, probably more so than most athletes that I know of. And I don't mean in just a financial way, but I mean, he's been in the Fresno State wrestling room to wrestle with my son and some of the other guys. He'll come out here and wrestle with kids. Even early on in his career, he still made it a point during postseason wrestling to come out to the Selma wrestling room, to be in the room, to help guys. You know what I mean? If they needed an extra coach, he would be at some of the local tournaments. He still shows up to 5 counties to help coach kids. He still shows up to do all that stuff. So he'd never be a type of guy that's gonna blow anybody off or be big headed or anything like that. He wasn't raised that way.
Okay, here we go. Here's so she's got a pretty damn good record too.
She's 10 fights in the UFC, 5 wins and 1 draw.
Yeah. So she's right behind Alex. She's definitely up there.
Have you worked with Mo yourself, Jeremy, at some point?
Yeah, our agency helped get her into the UFC. You know what I mean? And then she went a different direction after she got in. But it's someone that we're always pulling for, obviously. You know what I mean? So it wasn't on bad terms or hard feelings or anything like that. It's just definitely a person that that I think is very important to the Valley and very important to the MMA scene. Her gym's doing good things, and we always enjoy watching her compete.
Yeah, her gym is doing good things. Every time I see them post on social, it's not about their fighters or who's biggest and who's baddest.
Yeah.
Normally it's about them working with kids, and you'll see the kids doing good workouts.
Right.
And it looks like they got some good coaches in there, and they're all training hard. So yeah, we have a lot of respect for the Belizean Bruiser too. Is her fight? Is it the next UFC?
She's fighting in June 20th. So next week.
Next week. Hey, What about this, guys? What about after this whole pandemic and everything? Out of all sports, it's our sport, MMA. That's one of the first ones to get back going.
Yeah.
Who does the credit go to that? Does that kind of go to Dana White a little bit?
I mean, I think he catches the most shit, right? Like for trying to forge on and push through barriers and stuff like that. And he's been doing it for over 20 years,
Been making it happen though, man.
Yeah, it's definitely hard being the first, right? And I think a lot of times torchbearers and guys that are really pushing the envelope to get things done, they always catch a lot of shit, So, no matter what it is, right? He's in the forefront of our sport. He's trying to make things happen, and to his credit, you know what I mean? They got it done. They're having fights done. They're adapting weekly to like we said, new protocols in different states and different things like that. They're making sure that they change and adapt, and fights are going on, right? Like they're not laying people off. They're not, saying we're not going to get you the number of fights that you were promised this year. They're trying their best to make sure everyone gets all that stuff taken care of. Whereas
they're having more fights than ever.
Yeah. Whereas in other sports, baseball, for example, and NBA, they're talking about doing half seasons, and these guys are going to have to compete for half of their salary and things of that nature. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that have been talked about, and the UFC hasn't done that, right? They're losing money. People don't think about this. They always complain about fighter pay, and I'm not saying that's justified or not justified, right? That's not the argument I'm trying to make right now. But what I'm saying is, no one is saying, hey, the UFC is still doing shows, and they're not getting any money on the live gate. They're not getting any money. They're not getting any money on concessions. They're not getting any money on merchandising. Nothing, right? For any of these events that they're doing. And they're still paying the fighters the same. They're still paying their staff the same, and all the guys are getting the right number of fights. So I guess it's easy to pick on the UFC and Dana White in situations that you don't agree with, which is not my argument. But where does the appreciation come in, right? They're the only sport that's doing that. The only one. It's the only.
They're definitely doing something that no one else is doing, and they are the trailblazers, and now people are behind them with NASCAR, golf, and other sports, and we do owe a lot of credit to, like Mr. Henry Cejudo says, to Uncle Dana.
Yeah, for sure.
They talk a little bit about Henry Cejudo, Jeremy. I know you're a wrestling fan, and just in general, Henry Cejudo actually came to the wrestling room here in Selma right after a year or two after he got his gold medal. Him and Mr. Captain Eric. So I mean, what do you think about his skills? Is he gone from MMA, or do you think he'll be back?
I mean, it's hard to say. Some guys they accomplish their goals within a certain sport or whatever, and they move on and they're okay with it. Some guys are always going to be itching to compete. You know what I mean? I don't know if that might or might not be him. So I definitely think that it's a situation where you could definitely see him come back. I wouldn't put it past him. Typically wrestlers, they're not really good at giving up and not competing anymore, right? So so I think that definitely you could see him back for sure.
So on your event that you're going to have, Jeremy, in July, what's that date again? And are you going to have grappling and MMA planned for this one?
Yeah, so July 25th. We're going to do the grappling, the same grappling tournament that we were supposed to do in March with that. I think it's 155 to 185. I think most all the entrants that were in that one are good to go for that date. We've had to make, a slight few adjustments from March to April to May to June with the fight card. But the July fight card, it's pretty well put together. I think it's like 5 title fights. You know, it's definitely a really big situation for us. It's great. So I'm hoping that everything jumps off. If not, we move to August 22nd at Rawhide Ballpark in Visalia. You know, and try to get it done there.
Well, if you ever need a referee, you know, Tom Owens here, or co-host, he's a badass, you know, knowledgeable guy.
Yeah. I think Mike and him communicate a little bit. So
good.
Yeah.
Now that I'll definitely ref, man. I love it, dude. If you do it at the Rawhide, that's sick. I think that's one of here in Visalia. That's a classic spot right there. It's kind of in the middle of town. You know what I mean? From the good side of town and the bad side, and everybody meets in the middle right there. Plus, it has that open atmosphere. It's just really good little spot right there. The concession, everything about the Rawhide's sick.
Yeah, for sure. It's a nice place to do fights.
Now the grappling tournament, it's something that a lot of people are getting more and more interested in. I mean, everybody they love the MMA, but there's a grappling school now on every corner in Visalia. It's getting real big, and there's a lot of good coaches in all these schools, and there's a lot of people that want to compete in just the grappling. You said 155 to 185. Is that open from 155 to 185, anywhere in between, or they're going to be separate tournaments?
No, it's just going to be open within that weight range, and any belt level. You know what I mean? We're going to have a title fight. It's kind of like a belt we're going to have, and that's how we're gonna crown a champion. And then you know, in the following month, we're going to do one from, I believe, 125 to 155, and then after that, we'll do 185 up into heavyweight. So, you know, we're going to have 3 different belts for the men. We haven't fully invested in doing one for the women yet, but I think that it's coming as more and more girls are starting to compete now. So, it's definitely just a little something extra, you know, as we continue to build on the grappling for 559.
Awesome, man. Well, guys, there you have it right there. Got the locals that are doing great in action. A couple local fighters doing it in the UFC. We got Jeremy that's going to be bringing back the amateur fight show here real soon. And what can I say? I'm proud of our locals, man. I never thought back in the day at the Tachi days and Gladiator Challenge days up in Porterville that we would be where we're at. We'd have locals, you know, up in the top show. So, Jeremy, thanks for taking the time out of your day and coming on and surprising the guests like that. Those guys were pretty stoked to see you pop on like that, and so was I. And Archie, you got anything else to say today before we close this baby up?
No, I just appreciate everyone that came on. Jeremy, thanks for catching us all up on what's going on with 559 in the Valley, just MMA in general. I know you had a big part, you know, with Alex, and it was great that you were able to come on to surprise Alex and just be a part of this, man.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.
Tom.
All right, guys. Well, Alex Perez and Cole, sorry, guys, with Colin Oyama. We'll get him on another day, but with the internet connection and everything, you know, it just doesn't work out every time. But thank you, Colin, for taking the time to come on, especially you too, Alex. I know you're real busy, and I can't wait to see you in the next fight. Guys, we got to thank our sponsors, Rio Acai Bowls in Fresno, La Enchilada Mexican Food, and Gentle Art CBD. Archie, anybody else I'm missing out there with the sponsors?
We're good for today, Tom.
All right, guys, we're good for the day. Next week, guys, we'll be back with some more exciting guests. I'm sure Archie's got a handful of guys in mind. We got plenty of guys in mind. It's just always a matter of time restraints, guys. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for supporting our local. We will see you guys on the next show, Tuesday at 2 p.m., hopefully. Right, Archie?
That's right.
Tuesday, all right.
2 p.m.
Jeremy, thank you again. I hope you and your family are doing great, man. We'll see you on the next time, brother.
All right. See you, Jeremy. Thank you. Hold on, Tom.
And we are going to be